What's up, guys? Derek, morepleasemordates.com. Today we're going to be talking about, the world record for fasting in terms of how much weight lost in a set amount of time. So just straight up not eating for as long as possible without withering away into nothingness. And this guy fasted for a year straight, actually over a year straight, and lost 276 pounds. So that's what we're going to be delving into with this whole, intermittent fasting for autophagy, as just, a general health practice that is being commonly adopted nowadays. People are starting to do 3-day fast, 5-day fast, 7-day fast to achieve autophagy and achieve, for calorie, restriction and whatnot as a means of adhering to their, macronutrient allotments easier and all these other things that are definitely worth taking note of. I'm not, dismissing them. Don't take that as me dismissing them or anything. I actually do intermittent fast myself as a means of enhancing work productivity, not as something I think is optimal for bodybuilding, muscle building practices, but in a fat loss and or productivity context, I think intermittent fasting definitely has its benefits. And potentially in a health and longevity context as well. I do once in a while throw in a 24-hour fast, sometimes once every couple of weeks and then every few months. If I think I can take it, I'll do a 3-day fast. I've only done a couple now, as of now in the past year. But they're tough and they're really tough. So that's why, I'm pretty limited with using them. So anyways, this guy in particular, he fasted for not 1 day, not 3 days, for fucking a year straight and lost 276 pounds. So this is the before and after. And as you can see, it's staggering the difference this guy had. Like you can see here, what his old pants used to look like that he used to wear with the thumbs up. This guy's name is Angus Barbieri, I believe. And you can see before the guy was very obese, not just could lose a couple pounds. He was could lose a couple 100 pounds. And he did just that, which is really interesting because most people would think, common logic would assume if you don't eat, you're going to die. A lot of people don't really think, just because you're fat, you actually have energy reserves. That's what the physical manifestation of storing calories is getting fatter, essentially. So this guy was essentially his own calorie bank, and indirectly was eating at maintenance via his body eating up his own calorie stores. So when you eat in a severe deficit like this, such a severe deficit where you're literally taking in no food, your body has to dip fully into energy stores to get that whatever your energy expenditure is for the day. So he went from fat as hell to thin guy. And going into the statistics of it itself, so it's a case report called Features of a Successful Therapeutic Fast of 382 days duration. So this guy was 27 years old, fasted under supervision for 382 days, and subsequently maintained his normal weight. So, a common issue with weight loss plans is people yo-yo diet and whatnot. This guy managed to keep the weight off. Blood glucose concentrations around 30 milligrams per 100 milliliter were recorded consistently during the last 8 months, although the patient was ambulant and attending as an outpatient. Responses to glucose and tolbutamide tolerance tests remain normal. The hyperglycemic response to glucagon was reduced and laterally absent, but promptly returned to normal during carbohydrate refeeding. After an initial decrease was corrected, plasma potassium levels remained normal without supplementation. A temporary period of hypercalcemia occurred towards the end of the fast. Decreased plasma magnesium concentrations were a consistent feature from the first month onwards. After 100 days of fasting, there was a marked and persistent increase in the excretion of urinary cations of inorganic phosphate, which until then had been minimal. These increases may be due to dissolution of excessive soft tissue and skeletal mass. Prolonged fasting in this patient had no ill effects. So I don't know where I heard that a follow-up on this guy was done and he might have not live that long or something like that. That could be completely incorrect, but based on whatever duration follow-up, this case report, stayed on top of him. He had no adverse effects from this severe restriction and basically benefited from it entirely. So as far as like what he used to survive during that 382 days, apparently he weighed in at 456 pounds when he started this whole thing. And then during the 382 days of his fast, he was given a vitamin supplement, like a multivitamin, it looks like, Multivite, BDH, vitamin C, and yeast for the first 10 months. And as Paladac, Park Davis for the last 3 months. Non-caloric fluids were allowed ad libitum. From day 93 to day 162 only, he was given potassium supplements. And from day 345 to day 355 only, he was given sodium supplements. No other drug treatment was given. So this is like a pretty limited protocol for a guy who's not eating food for a year straight. And honestly, it kind of elucidates how capable the human body really is. Because it seems like, you would assume if you're severely deprived of micronutrient intake as well as just basic macronutrient intake on a daily basis that you're going to end up deficient in some of these, vitamins and minerals, but it doesn't seem like he needed significant intervention in that regard, and his body more or less just like endogenously auto-regulated itself in the absence of sufficient micronutrients from exogenous means. And it's pretty damn crazy to see this in real life application, because you'll hear of people, preparing for 3-day fast, 5-day fast, and trying not to die doing them, and like all this crazy stuff they do to prepare for them. And you have this guy who just shows up, has like a multivitamin and some vitamin C, and just like goes like hard as hell for over a year straight and rips fucking 276 pounds off himself. So it kind of like spits in the face of the idea that your metabolism downregulates after a certain time in a deficit too. And the thing is I do believe that is true to some extent. Like your body does auto-regulate, and it will in fact reduce your set point, whereby you are going to need to go into a steeper deficit to keep losing weight, because your body is going to slow down your metabolism, slow down thyroid hormone production, slow down anything associated with reproductive health and vitality. It's going to be slowed down in the absence of sufficient nutrients and sufficient fat too. Like even when you start to get way too lean, this is like a sign to your body that, okay, it's not, it's not a good time to reproduce. It's time to try and like survive, because the leaner you get, the harder it is to, support the growth of another fucking human inside you if you're a girl. So that's just an example, obviously for men too, in a reproductive context. The same thing's going to happen when you get way too lean. And so basically, as you get leaner in a like dose dependent manner, your metabolism is going to try and like, regulate things to some extent to prevent you from starving away. But there's a limit to that, obviously. And if you're literally eating zero food, obviously there's some sort of energy expenditure occurring on a daily basis. And it was more than enough for this guy to peel off, almost a pound a day. He was 382 days in duration, and he lost 276 pounds. So he's losing like 2/3 of a pound a day-ish, which is just nuts, like consistently. So again, this is just a really interesting example, if nothing else, that you can take away from this. It's if you're interested in longevity, fasting, anything relevant to that whatsoever, this is a case report. This is definitely worth taking a look at, because there is no better example of somebody who has done the most extreme version of this, very, very popular and snowballing in popularity lifestyle intervention. So if this is like the extreme that one's body can be taken to and induce like significant amounts of autophagy, rip tons of fat off you just by sheer willpower, and it's not shown to have any adverse effects, potentially it might be worth further consideration for other therapeutic applications in a clinical setting, as well as perhaps in your own life if it is relevant to you, with the supervision of your doctor, of course, if you found a liberal doctor who would even not call you a fucking nut job for even referring to this. So anyways, take from that way you will. I highly recommend you guys check this out. It's really interesting, and obviously the before and after is just insanely staggering, so that in itself is worth looking at. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed that. Please like, subscribe, check out my blog, moreplatesmoredates.com. Follow me on Instagram at moreplates_moredates, Facebook, Snapchat, BitChute, TikTok, Apple Podcasts, wherever I am. Kind of forgot what the platforms were for a sec. Definitely drop a comment and like. Like I mentioned, it does help the algorithm, so it's very much appreciated when you guys do that. And it helps push the brand to a new audience that might not otherwise see it in their, like recommended sidebar and whatnot. So thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.